It was a cold November evening in 1971 when the quiet town of Garibaldi, Oregon, lost one of its own. The kind of loss that doesn't happen all at once. It seeps in, slow and quiet, like fog over the pines. A rusted green Plymouth Satellite sat parked on the shoulder of Timber Creek Road, headlights off, the engine still ticking. The driver's door hung open. On the front seat, a cassette tape with a handwritten label, for Deputy L. When Deputy Leon Ward arrived, he thought it was just another broken-down car, but what he found that night would haunt the town for the next 50 years. The car belonged to 29-year-old librarian, Eleanor Price. Eleanor was the sort of woman who lived quietly enough to be invisible until the day she wasn't. She moved to Garibaldi 3 years earlier, in 1968, telling everyone she'd come from Eugene after taking a transfer from the city library. She was polite, neat, and punctual. Every morning at exactly 8:45, she unlocked the front doors of the Garibaldi Community Library, humming softly under her breath. To the locals, she was just Miss Price, kind to children, always with a warm word, though few could say they really knew her. She lived alone in a small cabin on Millstone Road, where the forest pressed right up to her back porch. Sometimes neighbors saw her reading late into the night by the dim yellow light of a single lamp. But beneath that quiet life, there was something unsettled about her. People remembered how her hands sometimes trembled when she closed the library register, how she'd stare out the window at passing cars, as if expecting someone to return. In early October 1971, strange things began happening around town. Dogs barked at empty roads. Locals swore they saw unmarked vans driving toward the old Warwick Naval Station, a facility shut down 2 years earlier. Then one night, a neighbor named Martha Klein saw headlights moving through the woods behind Eleanor's house. She said she heard voices, a man shouting, a woman crying. But when police arrived, there was no one there. The next day, Eleanor didn't show up for work. By the time Ward found her car, she'd been missing for over 12 hours. There were no signs of a struggle, just that cassette tape, sitting in plain view. When Ward played it, the sound of wind filled the car. Then, her voice, calm, almost too calm. "If you're hearing this, then I've already gone. Please don't believe what they'll say about me. I didn't run away." A pause. Static. "They told me to stop asking about the shipment logs, about the facility near the coast. They said it was medical research for veterans. But that's not what I saw. They know who I am now." Her breathing grew shaky. "I shouldn't have gone near the airfield." Then silence. Ward rewound the tape and listened again. Same message. He handed it to Sheriff Don McHale, who sent it off for analysis. 2 days later, 2 men in dark suits arrived from Portland, claiming to be federal agents. They took the tape, offered no identification, and left. The official report listed the evidence as transferred federal. After that, the investigation stalled. The deeper they dug into Eleanor's life, the stranger it became. There were no employment records from Eugene, no school history, no medical files. Even her social security number traced back to someone who had died in 1959. Whoever Eleanor Price was, she'd built her identity from someone else's shadow. Old-timers remembered when she first moved in, driving a brand new car, wearing city clothes, paying cash for her cabin. She told people she wanted peace and quiet. Nobody asked from what.
But peace was something Garibaldi hadn't known in years. In 1966, a local schoolteacher named Sienna Ray had disappeared in almost the same way. Car found near the Warwick base, no trace of her body. Locals began whispering about a curse. Others called it the Garibaldi pattern. By 1972, Eleanor's name had faded from the newspapers, but not from the town's memory. The librarian's desk at the community library stayed empty for months, her handwriting still in the logbook. Her cabin, eventually rented out, still smelled faintly of old books and lavender. But one person refused to forget her. Helen Price, Eleanor's cousin from Seattle. She was 23, studying journalism when Eleanor vanished. In the summer of 1973, Helen moved to Garibaldi and started digging. She interviewed locals, visited archives, even spent nights walking Timber Creek Road with a flashlight, hoping to find something the police missed. At the docks, she met a fisherman named Joe Granger. He claimed he'd seen Eleanor 3 days before she vanished, talking to a man in a navy blue coat near the restricted area by the abandoned base. Didn't look right, Joe said. He was waiting for her like they'd met before. Helen asked around about the man. No one admitted to knowing him. The Navy had supposedly left years ago, yet shipping logs from 1971 showed nightly cargo transfers to a destination labeled Project North Wind. When Helen tried to request the files, she received a letter from the Department of Defense. Records classified under National Security Protocol. She didn't stop. One evening in October 1973, she returned home to find an envelope under her door. Inside was a note written in block letters. "Stop digging. She's not who you think she was." Within a month, Helen left town. She never spoke publicly again. By 1985, the case was nothing more than a ghost story. Teenagers dared each other to drive down Timber Creek Road at night, turn off the headlights, and listen. Some said you could still hear her voice on the wind. "Please don't believe what they'll tell you about me." That same year, a coastal storm tore through Warwick Bay, collapsing part of the old naval station's foundation. A hiker named Alan Pierce discovered a rusted metal box buried beneath the debris. Inside were black and white photographs, blurry images of a laboratory, men in masks, a woman with short hair in a hospital gown marked 47A. She looked just like Eleanor. When authorities arrived, they took the box. The official line said it contained old maintenance records, but those who'd seen it knew better. Within a week, the entire site was fenced off and declared restricted under federal order. Over the decades, theories grew wild. Some believed Eleanor was a whistleblower who uncovered illegal human experiments during the Cold War, tests involving memory suppression or identity erasure. Others thought she'd been placed in a protection program, hidden under a new name. But the most chilling theory came in 2006. After a landslide exposed part of the old tunnel system beneath Warwick Bay, local explorers found remnants of equipment, steel tables, jars, and a sealed glass canister containing preserved tissue labeled Specimen EP71. Unofficial DNA reports surfaced weeks later. The sample was human, female, a partial match to the Price family line. By then, most of the original investigators were dead or missing. Deputy Ward, long retired, gave one last interview before passing in 2008. "They told us to drop it," he said it was too big for local law. But when you hear someone's voice saying, "They know who I am now," it sticks with you. You don't just forget that. After that, the story of Eleanor Price became a legend, told in whispers over bar counters, repeated by fishermen who swore they saw a woman walking near the cliffs at night. In 2014, a podcast called The Forgotten Line reopened the case. The host, an independent journalist named Claire Benton, tracked down declassified fragments of Project North Wind. What she found shocked her listeners. The files detailed a government program testing long-term isolation and psychological endurance, supposedly on volunteers. The project was terminated in 1971 after uncontrolled behavioral outcomes. Among the participants listed was an alias, EPRYC. Claire released 3 episodes. Then she went silent. Her channel was deleted, her accounts wiped. Only a cached transcript survived, where she ended her last broadcast with the words, "She didn't disappear. They recycled her." 50 years later, no one knows what truly happened to Eleanor Price. Her car still sits in storage at the Garibaldi Sheriff's impound lot. The seat covers faded, the cassette tape long gone. But some nights, locals say, when the wind comes off the coast just right, you can hear a woman's voice drifting through the trees, calm, steady, almost peaceful. If you're hearing this, please don't believe what they'll tell you. I didn't run away. And that's how the story ends. Or perhaps how it never really did. Because in Garibaldi, Oregon, ghosts don't haunt places. They haunt people. They wait for you in the quiet, behind the fog, in the spaces between truth and memory. This is the story of Eleanor Price, a woman who tried to tell the truth in a world built on secrets, and a town that never stopped listening for her voice.